All right, great. So we're gonna call to order our executive meeting for the NCAC Wednesday, March 27th at 7:02 p.m. Mark isn't able to attend tonight, so I will run the meeting and run through the agenda. Um, and first item is conflict of interest questions. For myself, I have no conflict of interest with anything on the agenda today.
This is Chris. I have no conflict of interest as well with any items on the agenda.
Jeff, I have none.
Nancy, I have none.
Michael, I have no conflicts of interest.
Okay, great.
I don't
And
think I need to declare.
yeah, I think it's just the chairs and the parliamentarian.
Lori is here for Rand. So
Okay.
Lori, do you have any conflicts of interest?
No conflicts of interest.
Okay.
Wonderful. So welcome everyone. The first meaty item is on the agenda is number 3, date of the June meeting. There's an issue with the June meeting that we should discuss, which is it is the meeting where elections are going to be taking place for myself, my position, vice chair, and also the treasurer position, which is Chris. And the issue is Mark cannot attend and Jeff probably cannot attend. So we would be left with a board of myself and Chris, both who are up for election.
Alex,
Yep.
yeah, I found out I need to be in France for work for
Okay.
4 weeks during that time.
So
Now, there's a chance that it's going to be what, like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock my time? No.
so it's a 10 a.m. meeting.
It's an hour. It's an 8 hour
hours or 9 hours ahead.
Yeah, so I could call in. I could dial in.
Even if you could dial in, there is a argument to be made that the 2 people running the election are up, or the meeting are up for election. I did talk to Mark and have his schedule of availability, which is later in June. So we could discuss moving the June meeting so it is more of a regular meeting, since it'll be an election meeting and probably well attended. Nancy, you have your hand up.
Yeah, there's another possibility that assuming the bylaws get approved in May, the parliamentarian can actually run the election as well.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. It's nice to see your faces. Happy March and into May. I mean, it's going so fast. Just let me know what you need. I'll be glad to do it. Nancy is a loyal, understanding, talented parliamentarian as well. And if I am called to do so, I will relinquish that responsibility and gladly hand it off to. No shakes of head. No, I'll do it. You'll do it. We'll get through this process.
Someone can do it, but
Okay.
I think you do a great job, Michael.
Okay.
So is this something that we want to discuss moving, or should we are there any thoughts with anyone here?
I think the minimum we should discuss is whether we're going to make an announcement of any kind on April 13th.
Okay.
I don't think we need to actually commit to a new date yet, but I put it on the agenda because I wanted to kind of get it out there and have us thinking about it. Like it was great to hear that Chris also has difficulties on the 6th or on the 8th.
Yeah.
So my vote is that we just we note that the June 8th is not looking good and announce that we are considering moving it on April 13th. And then we have 2 more executive board meetings to figure out what to do.
Okay.
So you
great.
want to move it later into the summer then, you're suggesting moving to the 13th,
Yeah.
is that right?
Yes.
Right.
To kind of capture the entire, I mean, granted, Chris, your schedule seems to be in flux more than others, but to capture everyone, June 22nd or 29th would be when Mark is in town. I believe, Jeff, speaking to you, you would most likely be in town as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can commit to those.
I personally am leaning towards moving that meeting just so that the entire or a larger contingent of the board is there, especially for an election. You know, we've done great being transparent with everything that's going on, and in terms of just having the meeting run smoothly, but also under our new regime of transparency, so to speak. That would make the most sense to me.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
So if it's between the June 22nd or June 29th, I'll still be in France. But June 22nd is better for me. June 29th, I'll be traveling home and I'll likely be unavailable because I'll be flying.
Well, our motion's appropriate. Could I move the June election meeting to June 29th at, and it needs to be in the afternoon, right? Because by then the farmer's market's on, so would it be June
Well,
29th at 2
the
o'clock?
farmer's market starts in May, so I would
Mhm.
be, you know, I'd be stepping out. It's nicer if it's an afternoon meeting, so the more, you know, general Nescoan population can attend. I know you were about to say something, Jeff.
Well, I was,
Yeah,
so parliamentary wise, what's the thing where you say I don't want to discuss before we vote or whatever? Like,
so I move that we move the June meeting to Saturday, June 22nd at 2 p.m. And then someone would have to second that, and then you can say, whoever's, Alex can say, is there any discussion?
I'll be glad to second. Go ahead.
All right,
Thank you.
and is there any discussion?
so my feeling is that we don't gain anything by moving the date sooner, because we might have change, like more changes, like where someone becomes unavailable on the 22nd. And like it'd be one thing if that bought us something, but I think we should basically just give the general membership a heads up that we're probably going to move the date, and then we can wait all the way until May to actually announce the new date, because that gives us the maximum flexibility to make sure that we pick a date that works for the most number of people. So.
Right. Aside from the dates, generally speaking, what's on the agenda? That's important.
On June,
Whatever that meeting's going to be.
I mean the election, which is super important.
Yeah, of officers and committees and so on and so forth, right? Is there anything else?
So we don't know yet, but my guess is that that there will be some items from the community plan committee, like most likely, and hopefully bylaws will be quiet by then, and you guys won't have them.
Hopefully the
And my guess
bylaws
is
can
that's
make
it.
a quick report, and it's
working on it.
possible the bylaws might have some initial policies and procedures. We're going to be discussing that, but my guess is we won't be tackling a lot of that yet.
So I think it's mainly going to be the officer election, the voting on next year's bylaws committee, and whatever the community plan committee wants to do, and if they're able to use the time, we may give them a lot of time, because at that point they're going to be the main thing going on. So
I guess if I could speak to my motion, the advantage I see of having a date is that people could be planning for it, and like for people that are applying for the bylaws committee, for example, or for the officers, they can make sure that they're available to be able to come and speak. I mean, it might not make that much of a difference. So, but I guess it sounds like you've already talked to Mark, and the other 3 officers are here that would know whether they're available on the 22nd.
Yeah, I always enjoy postponing a decision to make sure everyone's available. But I don't think it's going to get any worse than 3 of us being gone. I know I'm available, both of those days, stepping up from the farmer's market. So it is hard to see how our availability would be any worse on another day. Something to consider.
Yeah.
If we wanted
I
to.
guess my thought is that, like, what if it turns out that the 29th, like say Chris's travel plans change and the 29th is way better than the 22nd for some reason, that like, or yeah.
Mhm.
That new conflicts arise that we don't know about yet, that knock some of us out for one of those dates, so.
That always happens. If it's a significant change, you change the date and offer it and so on and so forth. If it's not a significant change, just do it, get on with it and let everybody know and have the meeting.
I think we should probably make a decision and not spend too much more time on it, but my vote is that we don't need to actually announce a new date this early. So that's my position.
What about if you just said, we think we need to change the date? The most likely date we'll change it to is in June 22nd, or whenever it is, or 29th, whatever you said. And then say, we will finalize this in May, and there will be a notice by email about the final date.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I would do.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So it sounds
We have
like,
a
Laura,
motion?
you're suggesting a motion to amend to do that. And so,
I will suggest a motion to amend to do that.
okay, all right.
Do we need a second for that?
Second?
Clarify the motion, please.
The motion is, the new motion is to announce on October 13th that we will most likely be changing the date because from June 8th because of conflicts, and that our best guess for the new date is June 22nd, but we're not going to finalize it until May, so that we have more time to kind of identify the best date.
Okay, so that's a motion to amend to say that. So yeah, so I can support that.
And Jeff, do we need to communicate that at the April meeting?
Yes, we will announce that in the April meeting. That'll be, in fact, I have it tentatively on the agenda already. So
Okay, great.
Nancy,
Was that a second?
As a seconder, I'll support that as well.
All right. Any discussion?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Well, there it is. Excellent. That is a good solution to that. So we're on to officer election detailed planning for the June meeting. Have we heard anything from the and I missed a meeting that the committee to find candidates was discussed. Do we have any news from them?
I have not heard anything from Mark about a nominating committee, and info at NESCO and CAC has not received any new expressions of interest. So
Okay.
So I'm guessing we don't have any.
All right. In terms of detailed planning, was the idea for this to talk about the nuts and bolts of putting together the actual mechanics of the vote, or?
So I like my thought, because I wrote that agenda item, is that there's a bunch of things that need to happen between now and June 22nd, probably. And to make a complete list of like all the things that need to happen, starting with what we announced on April 13th and what will go in the email blast on Saturday, which probably we should also announce that nominations are opening up. So
okay.
So I just to confirm, Alex and Chris, you are both returning, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Speaking for myself, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So my personal opinion is that we should like when we announce elections are open, like and Alex and Chris intend to run for their positions again. Like we should announce that as part of the announcement. And does anyone have any thoughts on that?
I think as long as we pair that with an open call, so
Yeah,
that it
yeah.
doesn't seem like we're saying we're going to be taking over positions again, but
Yeah.
it would be, it's always good to tell people who's running as early as possible. So that's,
Right.
I have no problem with that.
And
And
Oh.
also include an invitation for anybody else who wants to participate.
yes,
Who wants
absolutely.
to run,
Yes.
to let you know at earliest opportunity.
Yeah, and we're gonna let people know on Saturday.
Mhm.
Um, so let's see. So on Saturday, I like the email blast will include an announcement, like not like the positions of treasurer and vice chair will be are up for are open in June to be elected. Alex and Chris are running again. If you are interested and want to run for these positions, you send an email to info at Nesco and CAC. Include a personal statement about like whatever you want to say to the people of Nesco about why you're running and why you'd be good. And we'll put all of those personal statements on an election page on the website. And I think that's probably the main things that we want to communicate in the announcement. Does anyone have anything that they think we should add or?
Jeff, that's why you do what you do and we do not. Good on you.
Okay, well, but part of my process is making sure that I involve other people to think of things that I missed, and even if people don't suggest things, like going through the process helps me be more thorough. But
So we
yeah.
do have, some things on the election nominations and elections in the bylaws that are fleshed out a little bit more that will have been approved hopefully by then. And one important thing is that nominations will also be accepted from the floor.
Mhm.
So.
And that was already in the old bylaws.
Right.
Too. So,
Right, it was.
So yeah, well, so that's a good point. We'll also add that you can also nominate yourself from the floor on the day of the election. Then you won't have your personal statement being emailed out to people, but you can do it.
Mhm.
And I think we don't need to put this in the email blast, but we should mention it on April 13th in passing. And we're just going to have to write a script for Mark, since he's going to be the one announcing it and he's not here. But as Nancy, you pointed out in a previous executive meeting, the new bylaws, which we hope will be enforced by the election, specify the officers are elected in April, and so we're going to have we're going to be in
It'll be an
bylaw
exception.
limbo where
Right.
we're just kind of following the old bylaws because the new bylaws didn't come into force before April. So
It's a transition, absolutely.
yeah. Okay. And so my thought is that we should just re-announce the election in every email announcement. Like you've probably all noticed that, like, whenever I send out an announcement about anything, I include all the important things, that I will do that with the elections all through April and May, for all of the notices about bylaws meetings and community plan meetings and everything else.
And I know I've said it to you privately, Jeff, but I just want to say to everybody, I really, really appreciate all your work on getting everything communicated for the bylaws committee. I mean, it's just been so great.
Yeah,
So
No.
thank you.
let me second that. It's a big deal and it's a lot of work, Jeff, and we all know the time that you're putting into this and appreciate it a great deal. It's essential, but you're doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, and I will try to keep doing a good job. And I don't think my estimation is that we do not need a special email anytime in April and May just about the elections. That if we just announce, like, every time an email goes out, hey, if you want to serve as treasurer, or if you want to run for treasurer or vice chair, or be on the bylaws committee, which we'll get to next, like send us a note. So
I think the people that are involved enough are going to see like those regular updates are going to capture 100% of the people that are considering being involved in the NCAC. So
okay, and we'll have a special page on the website, which I mentioned. I was thinking about like fairness in terms of the order of the personal statements on those pages. Like we could do order received, but that hypothetically, assuming that you guys get to it, puts Chris and Alex first. Or I could just like every week or so, like every time I'm like I'm on the website doing anything, just change like rotate the order. And that would satisfy me. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts about that, but
I would draw straws.
just make it random.
And then if anyone questions you, you can say that's how you did it.
Yeah. And anyone else have any, like, I don't know that, like, we can make a formal decision and vote on it, or we can just talk about it, and then I can do what I think is best based on what we discussed. But I'll leave it up to you guys.
I have no strong thoughts on
Okay.
Yeah. any
I'm
way.
indifferent.
Okay. And the last thing I have is that last year, and I think this is in the bylaws, and it's definitely in the new bylaws, we recorded we recorded people's NESCON addresses and their type of membership when we did the registration.
Yeah.
Chris, do you know if because I saw the spreadsheet of those addresses, and there was a column where like someone had checked off like that they were valid. Did you have a part in that? I mean, you're kind of
No,
guy.
I was not involved in auditing that information.
So that was all Dave, I guess, probably,
Yeah,
or
probably.
Dave and or Beth. And I'm wondering, like, do we feel like, because I don't think the bylaws say you have to do that, and I'm wondering if we feel like there's a purpose to that, or if, because I know that the bylaws committee is going to require us to collect the information, but I personally don't want to go through that spreadsheet and check everybody's address, and I'm not sure if that's a good use of time and if there's a real purpose to it, but I definitely want to open up, like, to see if other people have thoughts. So
Yeah, I agree. I think we should just trust that the information is correct. And the only time we would need to challenge it is if, it comes to an important vote where it's a close vote.
right, so I guess we could do that where, and hopefully that won't happen, because I don't think we even have a process even in the new bylaws for doing that. But
It's something we're going to have in probably the policies and procedures now that we're recommending this new outreach task force that would be for membership and that kind of thing. But I think it's good to collect the information once a year, like at the June meeting, and it's there if we need it. I don't think there's any intent to enforce any of this, right?
So if for some reason, I think it would have to be if someone like lodged a challenge. Like I don't like it, because like last year, like the officer elections, a lot of them were like fewer than 10 votes apart. So it's not completely hypothetical. It all depends on whether we have how many people we have running and whether it's contentious this year. But if we if there's a challenge, like we have the addresses that people provide, and I will make sure to save, like not publicly but privately, what everyone voted, and then we will be able to go through and actually audit it if we have to. But I really hope we don't have to do that.
I think saving it just so we have something as a backup where if there's something in question, we can go back and cross-reference would be would be the way to go. I think doing all the work before or while the meeting's going on to
Right.
is
People
insensitive.
register and show up like at the last minute. So that,
Right.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't really have a way to do that. So the last that we've heard from Sarah is that the county will approve having the voting outcome in terms of how many votes per category. So like if it's an election per officer without having the individual names attached, as long as we don't save it, we're okay. If we save it, we need to keep it.
Well, we were
So-
just talking about saving it. So
Yes, you were. That's why I'm bringing it up.
So,
So
like-
there's been a lot of concern expressed in these feedback sessions
Mm-hmm.
and among our committee members about having votes linked to names. And so that was kind of the decision that was made, is that we don't have to, as long as we keep the aggregate data, that would be fine. But if we do collect it and save it, then we need to keep it for posterity. And if there's
Oh.
ever a challenge legally to the county, we have to produce it.
okay, so
So,
that's because
that's
it
just
sounds like
something
a lot of people
about-
don't want their votes recorded.
A lot of people don't, yeah.
And we can't guarantee that they're secret. So it seems to me that and I see that Lori has her hand up, that it seems to be that the best course then is to not save it. And we just hope that everyone's being honest. Yeah.
But the aggregate should be saved. So, you get the two
Right.
different kinds of Zoom polls. You get
The
the main
tally.
data and then the aggregate.
Okay, let's let Lori talk.
Sorry.
Well, I question that because in all of these meetings, everybody's being very clear that nobody's checking to see if people truly are members, that anybody can say that they are, and they can come and they can vote. So I think that there should be a way to audit if there was a really controversial and very important issue in the future. And somebody did challenge it with the county. I think we should be able to go back and say who voted for what. I don't think we should announce it every single time, and I think it should be saved and should be private unless somebody goes to the county and challenges it. But if they do that, that means it was an important issue. And otherwise, we're just opening ourselves up to, I agree that on every vote, we don't need to do that people should be able to vote in private, but not if it escalates to the point of going to the county.
Well, what Nancy was saying is that we have to choose ahead of time. That like either we're not going to save the individual votes.
Right. And I'm saying you should save them, but not announce them unless it gets escalated to the county.
Right. So we wouldn't announce them, but like I think a bunch of people probably would be upset if they found out that because someone sued us, they could. So my like and it seems like maybe we have two more executive meetings to discuss this before we actually have to do it. So I think we should probably table this for now because it sounds like it's a pretty sensitive issue. And also, like the new bylaws are going to give us more. It sounds like the new bylaws are going to give us the choice still. Is that right, Nancy?
Mhm. Right.
I guess
we've modified it so that before we were having to say that we would be needing to record all of it. And now we're not saying one way or another. We're saying that we do need to have the votes, the aggregate recorded. Otherwise, it could be in the policies and procedures. It could be a discussion for next year.
Yes.
I agree that we should have the meetings be as open as possible with as many viewpoints expressed as possible. I just question what I've been hearing at the different meetings about just blatantly saying, we're not going to check, anybody can vote, come on, one, come all. It doesn't make any difference what the membership rules are because we're never ever going to verify that. And so I guess at least I think our message should be something different. I don't know. I'm not sure
hear
how
you,
you
Lori.
voice it, but it just
hear you.
seems.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that we're hoping is that I can't remember if you were at the last meeting where we talked, it was about Article 7, the subcommittees, and we made quite a few changes with task forces versus subcommittees and created an outreach task force that might actually be able to do some of this. Policing is the wrong word, but checking membership and that kind of thing, membership registration. It's hard to do that on the fly in a meeting, but I think Wyatt Angelo, who's on our committee, made a really interesting point. He was a federal prosecutor, and he said that data shows that people do honor, they don't go in and try to cheat something like that. It's extremely rare. The honor system works, and to me that was pretty convincing that the honor system works.
And I think probably we should not get too stuck on this issue right now, because like right now we're just sort of trying to make sure that we've thought of everything we need to kind of have on our radar for the election. And the only thing that's super important is what we're going to announce in the next email blast and what we're going to talk about on April 13th. And we've covered that. But let's see, I see that Michael has his hand up.
This is an issue that keeps popping up in my mind, and we talk about it in the bylaws committee, but we don't really get, and we listen to what Sarah has to say. And it comes down to this: we're an advisory committee. Our task is to come up with some issues with which we advise the county on decision-making. And it is incumbent upon us to do an affirmative and a negative, or a positive or negative, or a pro or con position, and to do it clarified in such a way that the county commissioners can hear arguments from both sides, one or the other, and deal with it and such. The only other classification of votes that you and I and all of us may be dealing with is elections to positions in our organization. That may become an issue. I don't know. I can't imagine it, because I haven't been here long enough to understand whether this community is divided in that respect. But I can't really grasp, and I've been dealing with this constantly. I can't really grasp how it is that voting or membership and so on and so forth is such a distinctive issue that we need to classify and clarify and identify and distinct every single vote that comes up in this organization.
Well,
so I think
the history there is, I'm pretty sure that last year in June at the election, that there were people that only showed up to vote that don't show up normally, because it was the most well-attended meeting by far, by a factor of 2 at least, that we've ever had. And my guess is that we really went through with a fine-tooth comb. Maybe half a dozen of those people were not actually eligible to vote. But I think we should probably whatever the motion is, stop, to table this, because we're off our agenda. We're talking about.
Okay. I understand. But my question still comes up: to vote for what?
Officers.
Oh, okay.
Vote for the office of election.
Control and leadership and all of that sort of
Right.
thing. Okay.
Okay. Do people feel comfortable moving on? And Alex, I've started acting like I'm ready to go.
No, that's fine. I think, this is one of the main topics of discussion of the past 12 months. And I think a number of people have misunderstood or conflated the purpose of the NCAC with the county, and we're acting as if we weren't just an advisory board, but we're actually determining the future of STRs, which I think riled a lot of people up. Things seem to have calmed down somewhat recently. I think discussing this, next, keeping the discussion open is good. And happy to move on from that. If there's any, do we need a motion to table this, or can we move on to the bylaws committee?
I think we're done.
Just
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So next item on the agenda is the 2024 to 2025 Bylaws Committee. And mainly plans for notice about the new term and what we're going to say at the April 13th meeting.
Okay, could I have permission to share the screen, please?
Yes, please.
You actually have to let me.
That would be,
I think
Chris is up. Chris
Jeff
is
or
up
Chris
here.
has to do it.
Yeah, hold on, let me. Figure out how to do this.
You go into share screen and there's a little icon on the right that comes
Oh,
up
yeah,
and allows you
yeah.
to have multiple people share.
Got it. Okay, you should be good to go now.
Yep, thank you. Okay, can you see my
Yes.
Word document here? All right, so I can email this out. I didn't know where to stick it, but so basically I did go ahead and pull the committee today against my, I thought, better judgment, but to go ahead and see if people are interested in re-upping for next year. And I've heard from 5 out of the 6 and all 5 would like to do that. And so we're still waiting on the 6th. With that said, though, like the officers, we do need to have a notice go out saying that, you know, there will be an election to the bylaws subcommittee. And I think it is fair to say that subcommittee members from this year are going to be returning. And hopefully before the notice goes out, we'll know about the 6th person. So I wrote up a notice that could be put in a email blast if you would like. And I don't think we need to go through it all, but the first part of it is that the nominations are open, how to apply, what needs to be included in your application. And the main activity for the next year will likely be the policy development of a new policies and procedures document, assuming that the extensive rewrite of the bylaws is approved this year. And then some information about the bylaws subcommittee from taken out of the proposed bylaws. So, so that's it. So
Yeah,
I think you can use what you
think
want
that's good.
to. It can go out later. It can go whenever you want.
So I think we should include an announcement on Saturday, just like alongside the announcement about the officers election. I think we should keep it short and sweet. A question that I have for the rest of the people here is, should we announce that whether we are going to, or should we announce that the returning members of the bylaws committee will be renominated? And Mark's not here, so it's far, like, I don't know if we can make that announcement without him involved, although maybe we could decide among ourselves and then check in with him separately and see if he's on board with it. But and I guess I'll save my opinion on that and see, listen for other opinions.
Essentially, nominations are open from anybody to anybody for anybody. And so there's no problem with that, Mark or notwithstanding. So I think you can feel comfortable just moving forward. If someone else wants to nominate themselves or nominate someone else, that's perfectly open and reasonable thing to do.
So let me ask, my recollection, the last time we talked about it in a meeting that I was in, and this may have changed, was that we were going to give discretion over who was nominated to a committee to the executive board. Is that what you ended up with, or did you change it from there?
Well, I guess my recollection from that meeting, and actually I looked at it again today, was that the main vetting that's done is for checking to make sure someone's a member, right? So that would be a discussion item for that section of the bylaws. But at this point, you know, I think there was a lot of concern expressed last year by members that they don't want to have people cut off from being able to apply and have it, you know. So I know, Jeff, you feel like the executive board should be able to weigh in on whether somebody gets nominated or not.
Yeah, and this is not the right venue for that discussion, but Yeah, that is not my recollection of where we landed in that meeting, but it's your committee, so what your recollection is the one that counts.
Well, not necessarily, but I will invite Michael or Tom to speak up about that.
Well, Jeff, what was your recollection?
So the current bylaws
Yeah,
give the chair sole discretion over who is nominated to a committee.
In one area, yeah, to
In any
nominate,
committee,
yes.
like in
Yeah,
any
that's right.
subcommittee.
yeah, but not
Nominated.
exclusive, not exclusive.
No, exclusive, like the chair's decision. Like the chair nominates, the members approve. The members don't get to vote on someone the chair doesn't nominate.
Well,
Um,
it's unclear. They're in one area.
I
it
don't think
has
it's
that
very
the-
unclear. Like
Well,
there's nothing
in
that
one
says
area,
that anyone
Jeff-
can run. Like
In one area, Jeff, it says that the chair can nominate, and in another area, it says that people can be nominated from the floor and that members do confirm. So if it's only that they can confirm what the chair nominates, then they're not confirming, right?
I have my bylaws right here, and I'm gonna look at that.
Yeah, please,
right
yeah,
now.
do so, yeah.
Because I don't believe that's correct. I don't think committee members can be nominated from the floor. I think only officers can. Members of both committees and any others formed by the NCAC will be recommended by the chair and voted on by the Nescoin CAC general membership.
Okay, that's
The chair
recommended.
shall seek committee membership that reflects a cross-section of the community interest and viewpoints.
All right,
It's-
all right, 2 points there. One is recommended and the chair will review. Recommended is not a limiting clause. It is a clause that is associated with the position. The chair may recommend. Doesn't say exclusively at all. Others may do
Okay.
so in an open forum.
Okay. But this is pertinent to what we're going to do with the bylaws committee going forward, especially since we are currently under one set of bylaws and there's a new set of bylaws
Yes.
that will
yeah,
be in effect by the time
right.
that we have the election, and you guys are writing those, or have written those. So,
Right.
so how do you think they work?
Well, we are not bound by the new set because the new set has not been approved under any.
Right, but we should assume that it will be because right now we're just making announcements.
We cannot assume. We have to make sure that occurs. We are going to be under the existing bylaws until the new ones
But by the way, Nancy, stop sharing your screen if you don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm tired of looking at that screen. Just kidding. No, look, my reading is, yes, the chair has that responsibility or that privilege to do so, but not the requirement exclusively to do so. That's what the wording means in my justification on there. So if we go to a general assembly or a meeting and someone says, I nominate so-and-so, that's perfectly reasonable and acceptable. And under Robert's Rules and Order, that's the way things go.
Okay, so under that reading, the announcing that the current members will be renominated is meaningless because how are people nominated?
Well, but
They put in an application, Jeff, and that's
That's
what
right, just like-
that's what the announcement said, is there
Okay,
that
so
the
you're all
current
gonna put
members
in
are going to be
applications,
applying.
and-
That's
and we will
correct.
announce that that other people can put in applications. Okay, so
Yeah,
So
that's right.
I'm going to read what the current proposed wording is for subcommittee elections.
okay.
It says that subcommittees formed by the NCAC shall be voted upon by the NCA general membership. Task forces do not need to be. The executive board shall communicate a request to the membership for volunteers for subcommittees. Subcommittee members should reflect a cross-section of the community. Volunteers should indicate a willingness to serve by submitting a notice of interest as described in the subcommittee position application. The notice of interest may include a brief biography, including interests and viewpoints and any relevant qualifications. And that's basically it. So it's
So-
it's in that notice that I had in the Word document that I was sharing.
Okay, if you want to put it back up, that's okay. But sorry for asking you to take it down prematurely.
And if Tom would like, Tom and I work together on subcommittee. So Tom, if you would like to weigh in, please feel free.
Or not.
You're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted, Tom. Unmute, Tom. There you go. There you go. You got it.
It was not responding. I was trying. Anyway, so essentially, we're following the model that was sort of adopted to instantiate the bylaws committee, which was the membership voting, which is not actually in the current bylaws. So the idea is that we get a general call and the membership votes on who gets to be on the committee. Now, it would be reasonable for the executive board to not vet, but to check to make sure that those people who are applying for an office actually do qualify as members. That would be an appropriate executive function. But there is no other criteria that should be used to eliminate anybody from running an office.
So guys, I think your text needs some more work, because either anyone can self-nominate, and if they self-nominate, that they can run, period, or anyone can be nominated by themselves or others, and
Yeah.
or there is a curation function where we are deciding that people can or cannot run based on some sort of criteria.
No, that's not what it says at all.
No, it doesn't say that now,
No,
but it's
no.
one or the other. Like, and right now you have aspects of both, because you say a committee should reflect a cross section of the community, and if there's no function of kind of picking the people that are going to be presented to vote, then that doesn't mean anything.
These are
because no one's-
shoulds. These are shoulds. These are wishes. They are not dictations. It didn't say shall. If it said shall, then we'd have to prove it.
Who is that should
We
directed
don't
to?
have to prove it.
Well, then
Who's the should for?
when people are applying, when these people are presenting for election, they'll all be making statements both in writing and verbally.
Yes.
And that's where the membership can decide
Right.
where that cross section is.
Yes, yes. Let me give you a little bit of a twist, Jeff. Let's assume that somebody applied to be on the committee who was not a designated member of the association, but had skills or talents or experience or insight that would seem otherwise to be valuable to the process. Should they be excluded, or should they be considered? That's
I mean, I
possibility.
think that's a reasonable question.
Yeah.
And this is a choice that like these are two viewpoints that have been expressed
Yeah.
that you guys need to navigate between. And right now the text I think you have sits right in between and tries to like sort of mix and match. And I think you need to kind of pick a side. And
I disagree.
Yeah,
disagree.
yeah.
It does not.
I think Tom has a good point, because it is then laid
So-
upon the membership as a whole to decide whether or not.
right, but
And
you
the
haven't
basis-
specified a process by which that happens.
No, we've specified a process which we would like to happen.
No, like
That's a
so
difference.
is each member elected independently? Are they elected as a group?
It's a good
Right
point.
now it's
Good point.
ambiguous.
That's a good point. That's a very, very good point. Should they be
believe
elected
the-
individually or collectively? That's a good point.
So
The current wording, which I don't have committed to memory, is that when there is an election, the person who gets the most votes gets the slot. Now, what happened with the bylaws committee, the precedence is that there were 6 people applying and 5 slots. The person who got the fewest votes did not make the committee at that time. So we have a precedent. And
And-
you're right. Maybe we should be explicit about that.
yeah, I think
but we do
because
have a
we made that
precedent.
up. Our interpretation was that like the interpretation I made earlier, which is that the chair chooses and then we go with that. That's what we went with, and we decided that Mark was going to choose by seeing who got the most votes. That was how we were interpreting it. So I think your text should be explicit. Every single member has to get voted on individually, and each member
No,
and each member
that's not what I said.
has to get a
That's not what I
majority and if
said.
more.
And that's not what we did.
Okay,
That's
but
not what we did, and that's not what I said.
And that really belongs in the policies and procedures, not in
I
the bylaws
disagree.
on.
I don't. I think that has to be in the bylaws itself about how, like how you actually choose the people who are
Well,
going to elect
it does
Like,
say that the top vote getters get
Yeah.
the
We
positions.
can make it a bit
so-
more, we can make it clearer, I agree.
But
That is
the-
the intent of.
We really
of
liked
what's
how you
there.
guys did it last year. And we feel like the membership really liked the transparency that the officers have done this year. It's been very, very positive, and I think it's healed a lot of the organization by the way you've been running it. So that was kind of the input we were hearing from people as we went through with the bylaws, and we as a committee felt like we needed to follow that.
Okay.
And we were hearing some things at the beginning about, there'd been some issues in the past where people weren't given the opportunity to be on committees, and they felt like they were being frozen out by the board or an officer or whatever. And so that they really wanted to have it be more open and transparent, and that's kind of how you guys were
Okay.
operating. So
So
that's what
let-
we were suggesting in the bylaws
Yeah.
too.
So, Jeff, to go to your other alternative is to vote individually on each person, which means each person would get a yes, no. For instance, if in the case of having 7 slots open, 5 people applied, but one person got more no's than yeses, then there are only 4 people on the committee. Is that the scenario you're looking for?
I think that is the correct way to do it. That everyone who, if each person is getting their own votes, that everyone who to get on the committee, you have to have a majority. And if you have more people with a majority than you have slots, then it's the top vote getters. But basically, I think we should table this because we're not in the bylaws committee meeting right now. But the
No,
feedback
but-
I'm giving you is that what I have learned about where you are is that I don't think you're done yet. In my opinion, I don't.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's why I attended, just so I could get your opinion. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So,
if I could jump in here, I know Chris has a hard out at 8. It's 7:55.
Sorry. Thank you for letting me talk.
Is there anything that would keep us from just putting out in the email on Saturday that we are looking for people that are interested in the bylaws, and
No,
then
yeah,
tabling?
I think we can write a email that I think I know what I need to know, or I've learned what I need to know to write the email and
Well, and I will send this to you, Jeff, because
Yeah,
I think the email, the write-up doesn't say anything that conflicts or has anything to do with our discussion tonight.
Okay.
If Chris has to leave, the most important thing I would like to see out of this, jumping ahead into item 7, is I'd like to get a meeting date set for the bylaws approval special general membership meeting. And I'm suggesting May 11th, which is what we talked about at the last month.
So I think the most important thing, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, because we have to be able to start publicizing that and planning for it. So we had agreed last meeting that we didn't want to try to get the bylaws passed at the April membership meeting, and to have a special meeting. So I think we talked about May 11th, and it's something that if we have a morning meeting like at 9:30, we could do that, or we could do a 1 o'clock meeting if we think it could take a few hours. We don't really know yet. We're hoping it'll be fast, but we just don't know. We think the feedback sessions have given us a lot of information, and we're hoping that it won't, that's resolved a lot of issues and that it won't take a whole lot of time, but we just don't know. So I would like just a date set, and then we can go through item 7 after the community plan steering committee, after Lori goes. But
My question to you is, do you have a commitment from county council to have an approval by a particular date?
we are working in parallel with Sarah, and she believes that we will be able to have the response from the county. But regardless, I think we should, even if we don't have that complete approval yet, which I I'm pretty darn sure we will. She has not seen that there's going to be any problem with it. Then at that point, you know, even with approval from the membership, then we go through to the county. And if there's some kind of a thing where the county says, well, in this particular article, in this particular clause, you can't do that, then we would have to take that particular article and that particular clause back to the membership. But we wouldn't have to take the whole bylaws back.
Okay,
So-
so that, okay, that's the way you would like to go. Okay.
Yeah. I do. I really want to get them done on May 11th. I really do.
Yes.
I do see a benefit of putting a date on the calendar, and having a goal, you know, goalpost out there.
Yeah, May 11th is fine by me.
So it's okay with me as well. Flying back from Mexico either on Friday or that Saturday morning, but.
Boy, can I get your job, Chris? I tell you.
Yeah.
Paris,
Or
Mexico.
just can I have some points?
Yeah.
I'll be in California that day, but we'll have ability to get on a meeting.
All right, Jeff, I mean, Chris, where are you going in Mexico?
Rooster fishing,
Oh,
about 2 hours north of Cabo.
oh, nice. Very nice.
Nice.
What time
So-
are you proposing? 10 a.m.?
Yeah, so, you know, we've been having our feedback sessions in the afternoon starting at 2. I'm thinking maybe starting at 1.
Okay.
Seems to work out nicely for people, but if people would prefer to have it in the morning like we've been having for the general meetings, we could do that too. So either way, whatever you guys want to do.
Any preference?
I
I
guess I'm-
prefer the morning.
I think I do too, just because then like I'm not sort of like if I have it in the afternoon, it's sort of like it disrupts the whole day.
Yeah.
If I start my meeting with bylaws, it's buoyant for the rest of the day. Lori, I know you have your hand up.
I think most people expect the general meetings to be in the morning.
Great.
If we could keep it similar to when the general meeting normally is.
Good. Okay.
And it's before the farmer's market starts by 1 week, I understand from last.
It is by 1 week, so that will be much appreciated. It'll be a warm up.
So before you leave, Chris, is there any date in April that you cannot do the next executive board meeting?
It's typically the second Saturday of the month, right?
Well, the executive board meetings are usually on Tuesdays, and this one is
Oh.
on Wednesday because
That's right.
Alex couldn't make it. So, and since that one's not planning an agenda, we have more flexibility and probably maybe want to do it 2 weeks after the general meeting. So let's see.
So that'd be the 23rd. Is that?
So the general meeting is on 13th. So either the 23rd or the 30th, I think. Like the 30th is my partner's birthday, so I vote for the 23rd. So yeah.
Okay, I can do the 23rd.
Is that good for everybody else?
Yes,
That works for me.
Okay, so let's plan on the 23rd.
Okay, great. I've got it on my calendar now.
7 p.m.
Yeah,
Great.
unless people prefer 6, which allows us to
no,
finish. Okay.
March or
Alright.
April, let me make sure, March or April?
This is April since
April.
March 23rd was last week.
All right, yes, it was, yes,
Yeah.
23rd, got it.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna drop off.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you,
thank you,
Chris.
Have a
Chris.
good time, catch some fish.
Okay, I'm gonna
Okay.
keep this open. I'm not gonna leave the session just in case
Yeah.
it drops everybody. So I'm just
Oh
gonna-
yeah, or you could make one of the rest of us host, but whatever works for you.
Okay, maybe I'll do that.
And while we're waiting for that, we should probably briefly return to the what we were talking about with the bylaws committee meeting. Do we need a motion to approve the May 11th meeting date? Because if we
I
jump
move to approve holding bylaws approval meeting, a special general membership meeting on May 11th at 9:30. Or I guess people like 10 o'clock, but it could be long, so,
Let's say 10
Okay.
o'clock. And
okay. Hope for the best.
so
Okay,
let's see, we haven't, yeah, yeah, we haven't dive deep into the timeline for your what leads up to that date. So I know that you want to allow amendments from the floor. Does that complicate the situation with county council? Because then we have to, like,
No.
if we change what, like, do we need to do
Either-
that? Like every time I think about it, I'm like, we shouldn't do that. But if you feel like in
We
order
have
to do
to.
things properly, we have to allow it,
We
it
have
seems
to
like that
allow it.
introduces a lot of complication.
Yeah.
Well, we have to allow, that's Robert's Rules has a very specific way of approving bylaws, and this is a overall complete bylaw restructuring.
Yeah.
It should be just fine. What we'll do is Michael will give a brief parliamentary procedure tutorial at the beginning, so maybe we do that at 9:30, and then the actual official meeting starts at 10, but he'll do a tutorial on how you can make motions and amendments, et cetera. So we will go through and it's a meeting that Mark would run. So hopefully he can be there, or Alex if Mark can't make that.
Okay.
And I, as chair, will make a motion to approve the bylaws in whole. And then we will present them, most likely article by article. But if somebody has something that they would like to make an amendment on, then they will move to make an amendment on very specific wording. Tom is going to be our person who handles getting everything online where people can see the new wording and the old wording. He's volunteered to do that, do the redlining of the wording, and then an amendment takes precedent over the main motion, and that will be discussed. And you may even be having an amendment to the amended wording. Each takes precedent, and then if it gets passed, and I'm guessing, you know, who knows, if the amendment gets passed, that becomes the new wording, and then that goes on into the bylaws. So step by step. And it might be that, you know, there'll just be a motion. People say, hey, we approve, and that's that. Or it could be that we'll get down into the nitty gritty. But whatever the membership, whatever the vote is what it happens. Either the amendment passes or it fails. And if it passes, that becomes the new wording. So then it would have to go back to county council for anything that had changed from what council approved. And Sarah will be there. She can give some say on whether she thinks it will get through county council or not, and that could have a bearing on what the vote is, right? But let's say there's an amendment and it goes back to county, and county says, okay, you can have that, then that's that. If county says, no, you can't have it, then we have to go back and have a vote on that little part of the bylaws, but not the whole bylaws, just on that, just that wording.
Well put.
So it's pretty simple, and we could do that at the June meeting then.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so
I
I now,
I would point out that a couple of things are going to be overriding. One is there may be amendments, and there may be amendments to amendments, but at that point, there should be no more. If we get to amendments to amendments to amendments, we've lost control, and it should go back. Yeah, and that's pretty hard and fast. That's what I'm expecting, and the motion might be stated in such a way that we move subject to county approval, so that we allow for the county to step in and say blah blah blah, and then we take that into account.
That's a good point, Michael. I like that.
Yeah.
okay, well, I guess we need to finish the vote on the date, but then we should get back to the regular order of the agenda.
Well, by the way, Jeff, it might help, and it usually does, if you announce well in advance that any proposed amendments to the bylaws provision be submitted before the fact.
Yeah, we
We
have a
have-
whole agenda item tonight to talk
That's right,
about
that's right,
those
that's
things.
right, yeah, okay.
But we actually haven't gotten to that one yet. So let's,
Okay.
do we need to vote on your motion, Nancy, about the
That would be
11th?
nice.
Okay,
Mhm.
someone tell Alex what to do.
11th at 9:30, did you say? 10 o'clock, but 9:30?
So 10 o'clock for the meeting, but 9:30 for the training.
Okay, yeah, that's plenty of time. I will be prepared to do that.
We could even do 9:45 for the training. What do you think,
You
Michael?
want to join me on that, Nancy?
Sure, you bet, I'll be
Okay,
there.
you betcha. Yeah, we'll do a team. We'll do a team.
9:45, okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so 9:45 for the
Actually,
training.
9:40 would be better. You never know. I mean, you
All
know.
right, 9:40 for the training,
Yeah.
10 o'clock for the official
Okey-dokey.
call to order.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Second, I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Great, that motion passes. We will set the meeting for May 11th at 10 a.m. with a start time for discussion and intro at 9:45.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you very
Um,
much.
So next item on the back to the agenda, Lori, this is you. Number 6, Community Plan Steering Committee. Some discussion for input sessions and action items.
So luckily mine is short tonight because we're going along on other things. But our primary thing that we're needing feedback on are our initial community involvement meetings. So we've done 2, have we done 1 or 2? Anyway, we've done at least 1 poll at a general meeting. We have a poll that will be done at the next general meeting that will be about values and vision. And we would like to do a general meeting or a meeting for about the community plan with community input, 1 in April and 1 in May. And we discussed following the kind of schedule that the bylaws committee started a tradition of, with a Wednesday evening or a Saturday afternoon meeting. We're looking at April 17th and 24th, or April 20th and 27th, or any combination of 2 of those. And I'm wanting feedback if there's any conflict, if the executive committee has an opinion about when those would be, and or if the bylaws committee has anything that you don't want us to compete with.
I think we're good. Thank you for asking, Lori. I think our feedback sessions will be done by then, so.
yeah, and we just picked our meeting date of April 23rd. So, would you like to pick one of your dates after that so that we can plan, like we can talk about like planning for it right before it happens? Or I think the only date before that was the 20th. Is that right?
Or the 17th.
Right. There was the 17th and the 24th, or the 20th and the 27th. Let me look at the calendar for the.
And you're looking for two separate meetings, kind of one
Yeah, are you
week.
planning to have 2, or you like yeah, is that the plan to do one Wednesday and 1 Saturday?
You know, Rand has been traveling, and he is instrumental in this process, and I actually haven't been able to talk with him. So so that we're just brainstorming on this right now.
Right. So maybe we don't have to pick a date right now. I think all of them are okay.
Okay, that's the big thing. And I did check with Sarah, and she said she could come to any of these dates so far.
Okay, so
So
that's key.
if you approve it, I will meet with Rand next week when he's had a chance to get home and get his Easter event over and have a little bit of sleep. And then we'll communicate through Jeff about what our tentative plan is, and if anybody has a conflict, you can let us know.
Right. So I'll be at your meeting on Monday.
Okay.
And so Sarah's on board. That's the most important thing.
Mhm.
The next question that you need to figure out is where you're going to hold it.
Right.
So.
And once again, I wanted Rand to be a part of that discussion. From our last steering committee meeting, it sounded to me like people thought that the easiest place to do it would be the school. There seemed to be a little bit of a hope to do it at the golf course as being a place that was more central and a little bit just a smaller space that we're not expecting a huge group in person. It's going to be all the meetings will be hybrid. So all the meetings will be able to be, well, all of the meetings will either be hybrid or Zoom. There will be no meetings that are only in person. So yeah, so I don't have a
Okay.
decision about where the places are yet.
So it sounds like if you ask me, one of your later, like you need to figure out where and find out what those dates are, and that's going to be a forcing factor. You have to publicize it ahead of time, and if you pick one of your later dates, that gives you more time to kind of get your ducks in a row about what email announcements, what you want to make, what announcements you want to make on the 13th. So that's all stuff to think about, but it sounds like probably we've discussed everything there is to discuss right now.
Yes. Yeah, I guess the only other input I would want is if you guys have any input for me to take back to Rand and the committee about anything in specific that you, as an executive board, want to make sure that we don't forget to include, or if you have
I think the main thing is
wisdom.
remembering, from my perspective, is remembering that you have legwork to do before your meeting about trying to get people to come. So
Yes.
like leave yourself time to do that work. So
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Nancy raised her hand.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's a hybrid meeting, right? You're going to meet in person, but you'll also have an opportunity for people to participate via Zoom, correct?
Correct. Every meeting will be by Zoom, and some of them will also be in person, but they
Right.
will always have access by Zoom.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
this will be a good experiment
Mm-hmm.
to see
Yep.
how that works.
Yeah, and it's nice. Sarah's offered to be able to host our meetings that way too, which is nice, but so far we're okay. Thank you.
Okay. So are we going to table a date until you're able to talk with Rand and the rest of the people on that committee and come back and
Please.
let us know what
Yeah.
some dates are? Okay. Okay, great. Is there anything else, Lori, on that front?
No, thanks for thinking of us on this agenda. I'm sure we'll need to be on the next agenda also.
Of course. It's gonna community plan is going to become take over the mantle of the steering committee of what everyone's talking about. Or of the
That'll be
bylaws
good.
committee, rather. Okay, so I know we were jumping around. We did address number 8, date of the next executive meeting. Nancy, are there more elements from item 7, review steps to vote bylaws, vote in detail with action items? Did we cover everything that you wanted to cover in from the land of bylaws? Okay.
No,
Well-
we just did the date, which
Great,
is
okay.
kind of
Yeah,
my
I-
number one, but I think Jeff kind of indicated he wanted more, so I have more detail if you would like
Okay,
me to
great.
go over it. If you don't, we don't need to, so it's up to you
Yeah,
guys.
I'd like to go through, because like a lot of these are emails that I need to send out and things like that. So I would like to cover that stuff in a fair amount of detail.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen again. But I will try to keep that part brief. Okay, where is my? Okay, can you see it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd already note 1, so thank you very much. Note 2, I think is important, though, as I mentioned, we're working closely with Sarah Absher on the county approval and anticipate having that complete by the bylaws approval meeting on May 11th. So it's been great. She's been working very closely with us, as you know. So Friday, March 29th, which is 2 days from now, our bylaws committee is having a special meeting to talk about the draft document as a whole. And so we're going to be talking about that and having approval of that to go into our feedback session number 9, which is going to be next Tuesday night at 7. And that's going to be a kind of a 2-part meeting. The first part is to give people who have been attending the feedback sessions, and anyone actually who's attending, an update on how we took their input and what we did with it. We feel like that's important to close that loop to people who have taken their time to attend our meetings. And then the second part is the draft document will be out there for them to have taken a look at. And it's an opportunity for people to bring up anything in the bylaws document to discuss or ask questions about or whatever. So that's
Can
our last
I
day.
pause you there?
You bet.
So on Friday, the 29th, you're going to approve your own draft document. Should we send out and that's this Friday, right? Or no, that's next.
It's this Friday.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So do we need to include in the email blast hey, here's the draft bylaws, like for you to look at, like, and I think the answer is yes. So
Well, you could if you wanted to. I mean, we've said that that's what the purpose of this special meeting is. That went in the previous email blast
right,
that
but
we're
I
going to
think
be doing this.
I think transparency means that we should be pushing out, and there's probably only 3 or 4 people that actually care, like Tom Prohodich. But for those 3 or 4 people, like we should be giving them the draft bylaws as soon as they're ready. So if you're going to vote on something on Friday, that's going to go, like we should send that out for people to review before Tuesday on Saturday.
Right, except Jeff, so we may be making some changes to the document in our meeting on Friday, right? So we will need a little time to make, let me finish. So then we will need a little time to update that. We're also between now and Tuesday night going to have a special presentation just talking about how we've incorporated the feedback part of it. But if this is still going to be a living document, we're still going to be making changes up until the time that we present, well, a few days before we present to the April 13th meeting. That's so the April 5th bylaws committee meeting, which we're getting to next here, will incorporate the information we got from feedback session number 9 into a new changed draft document, right? So that's why we don't think it's that critical that people attend the March 29th meeting.
Right.
Because we're going to have another updated document for April 5th. So we're going to discuss that document, and that's the important one that where we're going to be approving something to send to the county and to the membership. So if that's the one that people probably it would be more important for them to attend. Any of them are important for people to attend, but the feedback session is probably number 1. That would be where they can really provide their input other than public comment time.
So, but my point is that for those small number of people who really care a lot, which is probably Tom Prohodich and Barb Triplett, and it may just be them, like
and Roger, and I mean, we have a group.
They should have your complete draft in time to read it and decide what they want to comment on several days before Tuesday the 2nd. That's what I'm saying. That like if you're gonna like vote on if you're gonna have a complete draft that is final at the time, or I don't know what the word is.
It's not final,
but like
nothing's final until they're voted on.
Okay. Whatever the word is, where like it's the current draft that you're working with, and that you like, and at that moment, it's no longer in progress until you get more feedback. That should go out for people like Tom Prohodich and Barb Triplett to read before Tuesday.
Yes.
So and the time to do that, because we only get 5 emails a month, is on Saturday. So I'm saying You
So
should
Jeff,
say what you vote to, like what you approve, and give that or give the link to me, like post it on the website and give me the
so the
link
link, Jeff,
so that I can send it out
is,
on Saturday.
I sent you the links today. I sent you the links today for the 3 meetings, including
no,
the,
not that, like we need to give them a link to the actual documents. So they don't
they
have to
will
go
be in
find it.
that folder. The links that I sent you are to the
Uh,
meeting folders,
Okay,
and that's where the documents will be.
I am telling you that for that sending people to go dig for stuff in a document is not sufficient transparency. We need to give them a link to the document directly if it's ready. And I mean, and
Jeff,
you're saying it's going to
so-
be ready, so just give me the link and I'll
I
send it
did.
out.
I did. So let me tell you what I do. And then Tom, I see you have your hand up too, but let me just tell you what I do, Jeff. I set up a folder in the meeting, right? And we add things with shortcuts from where the documents reside. When they're ready to go, we send a shortcut to that meeting link. And so as documents go in there, all people have to do is click on the link that you've put on the website for that event, and they will be there for them. They don't
Okay.
have to go searching for anything.
I want to let Tom talk, but like I am like as the secretary, I am not satisfied with that.
Okay,
Well, the documents don't exist at this particular point. I need some time to actually do the editing. It's going to be very close. I don't want to publish a pointer on Friday, which is not valid on Sunday.
Okay, so that is super pertinent.
Nancy, could I ask a question? It doesn't seem like if you click this link to the folder, it doesn't seem like there's that much work to go find the document that's in the folder, right?
there's no work. You're right.
Yeah,
It'll
and,
be
and we're
there.
talking about people that are extremely motivated to find what is in this document. It to me, it doesn't seem like there's a transparency issue for people that if they're given access to the folder, it's any different than given access to the document.
Right.
All of these.
Lori
all
has
of
her hand
these-
up, and I want to let Lori talk.
Yeah, all of these documents are. by definition-
Michael, I think Lori's got the
Okay,
floor.
go ahead, go ahead.
I would like to speak up kind of just as a general member of the public on this one. I agree with Jeff that if I was looking to see what people were going to be talking about at this bylaws meeting, I wouldn't necessarily know that I need to go to the meeting, that particular meeting, and then find a document where they are discussing things. I would just think in the email that Jeff sent out, or in a more obvious place, like I could just look somewhere and say, oh, this is the draft as of March 29th that they're discussing. Do I have any comments? It seems
So-
simple. The whole document folder and the Google this and that seems simple to you guys because you use it all the time. But
No, I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to share what I mean.
Okay, hold on. Let's not. As the secretary, who you keep complimenting me on my transparency and communication, I am
Yes.
telling you that this extremely important document that we are going to ask people to vote on, to make it properly transparent, we need to like hand people the document itself. If it is not going to be ready on Friday because Tom needs to do more work, then the next best solution is that we put a link directly to the document from the NCAC homepage as soon as it's ready, and we announce in the email blast, like as soon as it's ready, it will be posted on the homepage. I am telling you, as the secretary, sending people to go fish through a folder to find the right document, especially when these folders, by the time you're done, they have like 10 documents in them, is not sufficiently transparent. We have to like send people a link to the document itself. Don't make them go like look through your folder and try and make sense of your file names, which I know make a lot of sense to you guys, but are a little intimidating to someone who is not like living in these documents all the time. So we need to make it very, very easy to find the new bylaws so that anyone who wants to read them before they're gonna like make a comment on Tuesday to read through the whole document. Like I haven't read through the whole document, and
Well,
like, and
right,
if
you could, yeah.
and if it's not explicitly called out, I may not even realize that, like, oh, there's going to be a complete draft on Tuesday where I can read through end to end, and it's going to be what we think it's going to be. Like this is our best guess right now, what we're going to vote on in the end. We really need to spell it out for people.
Right. So I guess we're not anticipating having 10 different documents. What we are doing at the moment is having actually presentations by article for the final draft. And there will be a document that will show the overall document, but for these upcoming 2 meetings, we're showing individual presentations. So there will be a number of links. I mean, in the folder that's, say, for the meeting for Friday, there will be a number of links in there. But I know you don't like our document file system, but they do
I didn't
have
say
in
that.
English.
I'm just saying that
They do have
for
in English in
regular
part of it.
old people, you do not need,
Yes.
like, sending them to a folder to find it is not sufficient. You need to give them a link to the document itself.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. The document itself is going to be 10 different documents. It's going to be one for each
Okay,
article.
so you're saying that you will not actually have a complete draft ready by the 2nd. So what are you
It's
voting
not going
on?
to be in a Word document format by then. It is going to be in presentation form so that people can see them clearly. And then by the time that we have the April 5th meeting, it will be in a Word format. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tom.
That is the intent. It will be poured into a Word document when we believe that it is sufficiently settled. And I don't know why I couldn't have it done the evening after it's completed. I
Right.
can't predict who somebody would come up with a good idea that we have to do, but my intent is the evening of the last feedback. Then I'll create the Word document, create a diff of the document and the original, and that'll be available. That's
And then
that's as good
and
as
then
I
it
can
should
do.
be, yeah. And then we
Okay.
could put a
So-
link directly
So-
to
so
it if
sorry for
that's
all
what
that.
you prefer. But I guess, yeah. Oh, Michael, I'm sorry, you've been waiting.
Well,
Sorry.
that's okay. We're dancing around an issue here, and that has to do with the complexity with which the subcommittee does its draft upon draft upon draft upon draft, and the history of those drafts. We understand that process because we've been living with that process. Secondly, we're dealing with them in terms of articles, one article after another, after another, after another, and each one is its own issue and stands on its own. For people who do not understand our process, it may be very confusing and a whole pile of possibilities that they need to go through in order to get to what it is that they're going to be deciding upon. So it might help to have a singular document. Tom, I don't know if this is reasonable. You tell me. You're the expert here. But it's reasonable to have a singular document that says final draft or consistent draft or permanent draft or concurrent
Latest
draft.
update.
latest update, that whenever anybody pops open that document, it is what it is, because it's going to change. It's going to change all the way up until the week before we actually lay it out there.
And that's our intent, to have that ready before
that's right. And
the
it's got
the
it.
5th.
It's a living
April 5th.
document until we lock it in. And
If you can't have it ready by the 2nd, that's the way it is. My personal preference would be that if that is the last chance that people have to, like, really talk to you and give feedback in person, and that they ought to be able to read through the document end to end and, like, mark it up for themselves if they want. But if you're not going to be ready to let them do that,
realistically, by that time, there ain't going to be a whole lot of changes. We've we've proctologized this thing all the way down to.
Well, okay, so I do want to like speaking for myself,
Well,
like, so we've had all these feedback sessions, but like we just had a thing where like I went to a feedback session. I thought we agreed on something. It turned out we agreed on something else, or that you guys took away something else. And we don't have a whole lot of like space for people to like read through the document and realize, wait, like this is not what I thought that this isn't what I wanted, or this isn't what I thought that was decided upon. And yeah, I think it would be better if there were more like if there were a longer period of time where people could like read through the document end to end, top to bottom, and mark it up with like and find all the things that either they missed because they didn't attend that meeting, or that you guys landed somewhere that was different than they thought, or
Well,
and there's going to be a bunch of things where people just disagree with where you landed and want to yell at you one more time. But
Well, there, yeah,
um,
that's a good way to put it. There will be, so let me go through again, because we didn't get through the whole thing. There are going to be more opportunities, Jeff. And so we will have the document together as a whole by the April 5th meeting, right? Before then, the beauty of the PowerPoints and how Tom set that up, the PowerPoints, is that we have a slide on the left that shows the wording that we're proposing next to the current wording. And so they can see that difference. And whereas the document itself isn't going to show those changes, it's going to just show the new wording, right? So this is a better way for people, in our opinion, to be able to see what these proposals are until the 5th, when we have the whole document together. So after the 5th, the document should be approved to send the recommendations to the county and to our membership. And they'll have that document all the way up to review before the April 13th general membership meeting, when we will present it. We will have an opportunity at the general meeting. I think you had told us, and that's coming up on another agenda item tonight, but we had said something about 30 minutes to do this and to get comments. And we were going to go through mainly the highlights, but people will have had a chance to view the document for at least a week before then. And then they can bring up any questions they have in that meeting, correct? And then after the 13th, we still have 2 more bylaws committee meetings before we have the May 11th meeting. So we may in there decide to have a feedback session number 10 after people have had a chance to really look at the document as a whole and still be able to have some input. In the meantime, it's going to the county as well for their review, but there should be quite a bit of time between when we give the whole document for them and when we go to a vote. Yeah, Tom?
I just, let's see, make sure I'm not muted. Okay. Right now we will have 10 different documents. It's fairly trivial to make that one presentation and just have sections, each section, and so it would decrease for the potential confusion of over so many documents. Is that what people would rather have?
I think we need both. The stuff you've been doing is great. Like, I'm not saying that is bad and that you shouldn't do that and that you shouldn't go to run your meeting on April 2nd the way you've been planning, like going through article by article. I think that for most people, that's probably the best way. I am saying that for like people like me, for people like Tom Brodich and anyone else who decides that like this is the time they want to take an interest, they need to be able to read the document end to end. And it sounds like the time where you are going to be ready for that is after April 5th. So following that,
April 2nd, isn't it?
April, it'll be before, yeah, after April 2nd, because we'll have the updates after the feedback session, and we'll be able to put that in April 5th, because basically the document is taking the left-hand sides of the slides and copying and pasting them into the format of the Word document, right, Tom?
It's relatively trivial
okay,
to create a
so
Word document from what we have now, that format.
So I would say that we should plan on another email blast on probably April 6th or late on April 5th that notifies people this is the document you're going to see on April 13th. So you have a whole week to read it top to bottom. And if you want to, and both you can email comments to you guys and make comments in the meeting.
And then I think
Let's see.
if
So-
there's going to
so-
be an email blast before next Tuesday, it'd be nice to be able to put in some of the verbiage that we have on the agenda for that, talking about that it's, you know, we're saying that it's going to be a review of the whole document, but basically in the agenda, it goes into a little bit more detail about, you know, that we're going to have part of the meeting is going to be to give feedback or give the results of the feedback part. And then the
So-
second part is an opportunity for people to ask questions and that they can find the documents in the meeting folder for the 29th. I mean, sorry, for the April 2nd.
So there will be an email blast going out on Saturday. So if you
Okay.
want to give me suggested or like send me stuff that you want specifically included, about
Could I
your-
do that on Friday after our bylaws committee meeting?
Sure, but try not to wait too long because
No, I can do it that afternoon.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just don't do it at the last minute because it needs to go out. Yeah. So
Yeah,
and
no, I should be able to do it right after the meeting. It's just it's possible something will come up in the meeting that would change what would be going out in the email blast. Probably not, but it'd be good.
now
to-
you guys have been working with Sarah but I'm getting like from the outside, this is the impression I have that like that you don't have like a point where you're gonna like say, now we're locking things down because we want to like not make any changes while the county council is looking at it. And I guess anything that Sarah says is okay about how they work with the county council, you should go with that. But if you haven't asked her explicitly about what's okay and what's not, I think you need to be thinking about like when is it okay to keep making changes and when do you kind of need to like say we're not making any more or very many more or only making more at the meeting because if you're just going to keep making changes based on what people tell you at all the bylaws meetings, it's a moving target.
It
Right.
is our understanding that what we give the county, what we give Sarah, will be not changed.
So when are you
Yeah.
going to hand that over?
On, it would be after the April 5th meeting, bylaws meeting.
So at that point, you are only accepting change and here's a good question you should probably ask, like, all right, can you make editorial changes? Like if people find typos, is it okay if you change those and send an updated copy, things like that? But it sounds like
Yes.
No, she's not going to challenge those. The county is
Okay.
not going to challenge those.
um,
The county is going to challenge content, intent, consistency with law, et cetera, et cetera. But they're not going to deal with, semantic business at all.
So it's kind of what it is it's a parallel kind of a process. And we intend to send the copy of the draft document to the county at the same time that we're sending it to the membership
There
to
you go.
discuss at the April 13th meeting.
Yeah.
If something comes out at the April 13th meeting where people just are really hot about something, I don't anticipate that, but we could talk about it as a committee, but Tom is right. At that point, we're anticipating that it goes to the county. Sarah is, from what she tells us, she is constantly talking with county council about what's happening, and particularly anything that she feels like the county council is going to care about. She has been in the loop all year long with that, and she's talking with him on a regular basis. So if there's something that comes up afterward that we feel is really urgent to change, then that would be something that they would do. But it hopefully will not be necessary. I mean, the feedback we've gotten through these different sessions, I think, has been extremely helpful, and we've made some significant changes based on it. And so I really feel comfortable that,
Incidentally,
Couple things there.
The
Go ahead,
feedback,
Michael.
yeah, the feedback we've gotten is not unreasonable at all. It's reasonably well thought out stuff that we've considered or maybe not considered with a particular perspective in mind. But by the 5th, it seems to me we will have worked this pretty well out. If anything else arises, we can present that as a special perspective, a special issue at the general meeting, and make sure that that is understood as something other than what they have read prior. But I don't anticipate at this point we're going to be doing that sort of thing.
So, okay, what you're telling me is,
Yeah,
at the time when I have a copy of the bylaws that
Yeah.
I can read from top to bottom to
yeah,
review,
yeah,
you will have submitted that to the county,
yeah,
and like from a practical matter, you can only make changes if they're a really big deal at
yeah.
that point.
I think that's a reasonable
I am unhappy with that. Like, and it may be too late to change, but I want to lodge my like displeasure that you didn't leave time for the membership to review the completed draft and provide comment on it before you send it to the county.
Yeah.
so Jeff,
Yeah.
I'm going to just say, I don't think it's going to be that big a deal if we.
I'm
need to
telling you
change something.
personally, I'm unhappy with it.
Oh,
No, no,
Like,
no, no,
I am
no.
unhappy that I do not have the chance to
You
discuss the
will
comment about
listen to what
complete
I'm trying
document.
to tell you. If the membership comes back and they want to make a change, we're
What if I
working
want to
in
make a minor
parallel.
change? What if I have wording suggestions? Like I'm just I don't
You
think
will
I
have-
think it's
you
too
will have
late to like
time.
change the timing now, but I want to let you know that I don't think you did this right.
So you would prefer that we wait to send everything to the county until after we've had the meeting with the membership on the 13th? Is that what I'm hearing? Because I think that would be
yeah, I
reasonable. We
would
could do
actually.
that.
I think you
Well,
need
we
to
could
get
do that. We could do that.
you need to have a period, a comment period when the document is finished and baked before you send it to the county.
And I think that's reasonable. I think we could do
And
that.
Actually, that's what I
mind you,
thought
like
we were doing.
even then, like you don't have a lot of room to make big changes, and you may
Yeah.
have to schedule a special meeting to like if you want to make any changes based on what you hear. But
I think we can do
let's
that,
talk
but I
this
think
through, right?
I think what's going to happen, Jeff, frankly, is Sarah's going to give the draft document to the county council a number of times. I mean, that's just kind of what she's been
Which-
doing all along. So I just think it'll be fine. But I agree with you. I think the entire way along, I think if membership is providing us feedback, it'll get increasingly formal. But you know, if we get some really strong pushback on something, if it's a slight wording change, I don't think county council is going to care.
You know,
But you know, as soon as you get the draft, please let us know what you think. But
Mhm.
you know, you'll have the feedback session too. We accept input from people via email, phone calls. We accept input at meetings. We accept input any which way. And I know you won't hesitate to give us your input, and we appreciate that very much. But you know, and that goes for any member, any officer, we will accept it. So, you know, I think you will be able to go in. Some of the drafts are already on the website right now in that we haven't put them in the folder yet, but we'll move those shortly, and the rest will be in tomorrow. So
I
for
think-
people to look at for the meeting on Friday.
So,
And then
I-
there will be more that will be available for people to have looked at for the feedback session. So
So I think because in order for you to actually make changes based on feedback, you have to have another bylaws committee meeting to review them and vote on them.
we do. Mhm.
It does not make sense for you to delay sending it to the county council. But I want to say you left out an important step where you gave the membership an opportunity to review your completed document, that like what you did after you got all the feedback and give you feedback on it before sending it to the county. So I think probably what's going to have to happen is what you just said, that if you get feedback that is significant enough that you feel like you want to make a change, you're going to have to send a revised version to the
Right.
county council.
I
But-
just don't think that's a huge deal. I think Sarah will be doing it all the way along.
yeah.
I
You know,
really
Jeff-
do. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, we've been having these big, long presentations, but when you see the actual document, it's probably going to be what, maybe 12 pages at the most, Tom? You're muted, sorry.
Muted, Tom.
I didn't want to hear you hear me coughing. Anyway, yeah, I would guess that we're going to go 9 pages, maybe 10.
You know,
So-
Jeff, your points are exceptionally well taken. And I appreciate them because the possibility exists that the level of concern that you're expressing is potentially the same level that could occur when we finally get to the membership as a whole. But we are trying as much as we can to anticipate those semantic or linguistic or grammatic or whatever changes are going to be occurring, and trying to get those in there prior to the fact. And you know, again, in my mind, this is a living document. It's a changing document. It is not a completed document until we get to that final moment that the membership says yay. And so we have to assure the possibility that any concern or any change that is promoted or proposed or moved be considered reasonably. And so it's an open process. And your concern is a valid one. It's a good one. It's a meaningful one, and it's one that we take to heart. So, you know, we're listening. Don't worry about that. It's going to occur. It's going to continue. By the way, Nancy, I noticed that the 18th or the 19th is not a Friday or not a Thursday. You might want to take a look at that. On
Yeah,
April.
it's the 19th.
Yeah.
I think you want the 19th.
Yeah.
The
So,
19th,
so
the 19th, not the 18th, whatever it is. Yeah, that if it's
in
Friday-
terms of, I would think that it would be appropriate
Thank
for
you.
the membership to vote it, to forward it to the county. I thought that's what we were doing. Maybe I misunderstood, but I believe that what you were looking for is the agreement of the membership that this represents what we want. Not necessarily what we're going to get, but this represents what we want. Have the final say before we send it off to the county officially. Once that's done, then it's frozen.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, Tom. I think, you know, I think it would have to be something fairly major, but I do think, Sarah, I really think it is a living document until we vote on the 11th. And I
Okay.
think Sarah can take it to the county if we have some kind of a change. It would be nice if we don't have to, but
Sounds
But
like a
I-
bylaws committee discussion, not appropriate
I
here.
think, I think probably true.
And
But, I mean, hopefully with the feedback sessions we've had, we're not going to have a lot more coming, but certainly after the one coming up next Tuesday, that
There's
will
a
hopefully be
huge
the,
amount of consistency in the reports and the re-feedback to the committee. It's very narrow and very consistent and very clear.
So far.
So far, yeah, thank you, Tom.
I guess you do run the risk of people who haven't been tuning in to the whole
Yeah.
process,
yeah,
who
Yeah, that's
have
what I was-
just said, hey, I'll check this out at the end when they're done. I don't have 2 hours
Exactly.
every Tuesday night. And then they come in and they say, you already sent this,
Yeah.
and they have issues. You know, I
Right.
think anticipating some of that is probably a good idea. And
Yeah, Alex,
And-
that's what wakes me up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
yeah,
And my guess is that some of your super fans, myself included, like because you don't have like an active draft all the time, that you're only like you're having these sessions with just changes,
Yeah,
that people, like even people who've been paying a lot of attention may look through and be like, what? That isn't what I thought was in there.
Right.
I think there's gonna be
Which
some,
hopefully will be covered Tuesday night, but I do think you make a very good point that we probably shouldn't send it to the county until after the April 13th general meeting. It's not that far.
Yeah.
Sarah can choose to, if she wants to, she'll have a copy and she can choose to take it. Because she can, sounds like she's continually updating the county council to give them a heads up, because they may come back and say, we're not going to approve this or that, right? So, you know, we've got that too. And so, but I have no problem. I mean, I'll discuss with the committee on Friday. I've got half the committee here about waiting until after our meeting on the 13th to submit to the county. We have time to do that.
You
So
know,
I think that's a good point.
so you would finalize the version for the county on your meeting on the 19th.
my read on this whole process is that the county is following our process very, very closely.
They are.
The reason is because we're doing it at extraordinarily high, sophisticated level of concern. This is probably, if not new to them, it's unique. And this may be a model for other unincorporated communities to take a look at.
Yeah, maybe I could
Yeah, we
start
have
up a
gotten
new business.
What's that,
Oh,
Tom?
I'm sorry.
Oh, we've gotten exceptionally kudos for the process we've been following. You know, Commissioner Doug Olson has attended a number of our meetings and will be continuing. And he said it's a model. He's actually sending
Model,
our videos, links to our videos to a former, or to a professor of his, political science professor, to show government in action here, citizens in action. So, you know, I'm pretty proud of what we're doing, and that doesn't mean we're going to have an easy road ahead, but I think the committee's done an incredible amount of work, and I think we're going to have a great product when we're done. But I do think your input's been good, and I do think we should wait it's helped me think about this. I'll discuss it with the committee, but I do like the idea of waiting till after the meeting on the 13th to submit. And if there are no real objections coming out of the meeting on the 13th, then we can submit. Otherwise, we'll just wait for the 19th. And thank you for that correction, Michael, on the meeting on the 19th, which still gives another 3 weeks. And hopefully none of this is going to be a surprise to the county council.
Well, the fact that we're going over this right now inevitably is far, far more focus of attention than we're going to face in the future. And that's good, because we're prepared, and we'll be very well prepared when the time comes.
Yeah, I do think there could be some people attending the special meeting on May 11th who've never seen the document before, as Alex mentions, and suddenly goes, well, wait a minute. So, but they've certainly had plenty of other opportunities to take a look at it and participate. That doesn't mean that they don't have a right to make a motion to amend.
They can do the motions, but my guess is there's more often than not going to be a need for explanation rather than motions to change. We will already have heard people's concerns in a content and meaningful fashion.
Okay, have we?
Does that make you
beaten that one
happier,
to
Jeff?
death? What?
Does that make you happier?
Yes, if you're going to send it to the county after your meeting on the 19th, I think that makes a lot more sense, because then you will have had time to incorporate any
I think
feedback.
it's good. It's a good point. Thank you for your input.
Yeah, it's a good point, Jeff, and I appreciate, but really, I do appreciate your pressure.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Go on.
Is there a motion that we need to change your plan, or was that not a,
I
okay,
don't think so. We're just reporting to you.
Just do it. Just do it.
wonderful. Okay, so we have discussed the date of the next executive meeting. We do have a public comment period.
But no one's here. Well, I guess Tom and Michael are technically guests, but you either if you feel like you need to say anything else.
Well, as you pointed out, it's until the bylaws are approved, I guess it's not a special meeting, but once the bylaws are approved, this will be a committee meeting with a quorum that would be half of the membership. So of the executive board, be easier.
So barring any public comment, agenda item number 10, which is set agenda for the April 13th general meeting.
Okay, so I
which we
have
discussed a
a
number of items.
draft agenda up, and I think everything on there holds up. So I'm just going to share my screen, and
Okay.
I'll see if I can figure out which one is this it. No, it's okay. I have to figure out which window has.
Yeah, it can be a challenge sometimes.
Okay, let's
Apparently,
close this and go back here and switch things around. I'm going to put this in its own tab, and
May 21.
there we
works.
go. Okay, I think that's right. Yes, okay. All right, and can everyone see that?
It's kind of cut off.
2 pages.
If you scroll up, we're looking at the top we can see is item number 4.
Okay. That's okay. So what you see is not what I see. So just give me guidance.
Sure.
What do you see right now?
Right
Scroll up.
now, we see a Google Docs document. We see a page break in the middle of the page. The top item is item number 4, February 10th, 2024 meeting minutes.
Okay.
But
that
it is the
not-
NCAC agenda, April 13th. It does say that at the
Oh,
top.
hey,
of the
okay.
draft.
That I'm looking at the wrong window.
There you go. Yeah.
Dumb me. Okay. So let's make this bigger. Is that easier to read?
That is, and now it's moving and we can see up to the top. Pardon me
Okay.
while I plug my computer in.
So the first significant one was the announcement of the change of or possible date change, which we made a motion on, so that's firm. Mark will announce the elections and the bylaws committee, like with the talking points that we discussed tonight, and I'll go through and record those and send those out in the meeting minutes for everyone to agree that on what we agreed. The community plan is going to do their survey thing and any announcements they want to make about their meeting coming up, and the rest of it is yours.
Okay. Oh, even 45 minutes. Terrific.
And we can give you like so the other stuff is like 15, it's basically 25 minutes.
Mhm.
So if we give you 45, that's an hour and 10.
So
And-
Jeff, this is Lori. Can I say something?
Yeah.
So I noticed that you just have 10 minutes for the steering committee. And I know the straw poll that we have been discussing has 10 questions on it. And the people have a choice of rating each of those questions by like 5 different choices of how much they agree or don't agree. And so I think 15 minutes would be the minimum we would need to tell them what's going to happen, and then give them a minute for each question. If we could, at least 15 minutes is, I guess, what I would like to ask for.
So what do people think? Because it's basically like the time is divided between the community plan and bylaws, and I think if we go an hour and a half, we're probably still okay. But what do people think?
The bylaws committee is going to need, excuse me, the putting on the other hat. Sorry. Community plan is going to need more than 10 minutes for sure. It probably will wind up being 20 minutes actually.
Well, let's put in
If-
20, and that's going to add up to, let's see, 20 and 45 is 65 plus so that gets us to around an hour and a half ish.
A good movie.
Yeah, exactly. Which is a long meeting, but if that's, I like, what do people think?
I think that sounds good.
I think that sounds good.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
good. Do it.
All right.
Better to tell people it's going to be a little bit of a long meeting than run over agenda items. Not that we've ever done that in the past.
Yeah. So, all right. So does that look, I mean, I will send this out again for people to kind of, if they have more thoughts after they've slept on it, also for Mark to look at. But do people think this reflects what we talked about today?
Mhm.
Yes.
Seems right.
Okay. All right.
Okay. You still sharing there?
We go.
Okay, great. So that is, we've reached the end of the agenda for tonight. And a good discussion on all points. Is there anything else that we want to talk about before we?
Yeah. Yeah. How about that women beavers getting to the 60? I mean, come on, man. Let's get to some real business here, huh?
How come that wasn't on the agenda, Jeff?
Oh, well.
I put it out for suggestions. Like,
Uh,
Go Beavs.
I didn't see the game.
well, it was wonderful. They beat Nebraska and made it to the Sweet 16 for the first time for a while. Yeah.
Beautiful.
nice.
That's all.
Okay. Well, it's 9 o'clock. This is the latest we've ever gone.
It
This
is.
is all my
It's
fault.
9:03.
So let me just ask, are you guys feeling okay about the bylaws? I mean, I'm hearing a lot of concern expressed, but how are you feeling in general after the discussion?
I'm feeling okay. I think Jeff's points are, anticipating what we would likely see from people that haven't been fully engaged in the process, but we'll check in. And I think I think that's a good idea. Looking at the bylaws themselves, they look great. And there's obviously been a ton of work put into it. So the bylaws themselves are, I think it's been a great job, and it's just the final getting over the finish line. I know you want to speak, Jeff. I see that. I see that. I think it's a valid concern, and I think it's a good way to approach it.
Okay, thank you.
Where did you land on membership? Option 1 or option 2?
2.
2.
Option 2.
And that was the one where only a certain number of people per category can be members.
You know,
per
people
category.
from every perspective wanted to have a limit. It was interesting. And it was quite in terms of the polling, it was quite definite. And then I was kind of surprised that they came down on having even limits regardless of membership type. And within there, they came down on 2 as being the limit. So there was
we
quite
had-
a discussion with Sarah about this, because she said county council would not approve limits, but she agreed we should go ahead and honor the input from the members, which were quite strong, and submit it that way. So if there's anything that the county council is going to say no to, it would be that. But she's told us, go ahead and do that, submit. And that's what we want to do, because that's what we heard from our members in the feedback sessions.
Yeah.
So if the county council comes back and says, no, you cannot have limits, then we will have to do that. But that's something we will warn the membership about on meeting on the 13th, also in the feedback session coming up on Tuesday night, that's our intent, and we may or may not be able to have limits. If we don't have limits, it'll be just like it is today.
And I would anticipate, if there's anything that like you're going to get a lot of what the crap from people who haven't been paying a lot of close attention so far, that's the one. So you may have won over the people who are paying close attention, but I anticipate you may get a very, very strong reactions from some people who have not been engaged so far.
I
I
yeah.
think we very well may, but we've certainly done our due diligence and we have data to show what we were getting in the feedback sessions, et cetera. So that doesn't mean other people can't have their very valid impressions, but it was interesting whether we were getting feedback that every member should have a vote and not be limited to having people say that people who are just renting shouldn't have a vote. I mean, we've heard it every single direction, right? But it kind of surprised us all. I think, didn't it, Tom and Michael, that when we did the polling, that people came
94%,
together.
94% of the participants said, well, I can live with that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they, and
And
the
there
one,
were
and
no no votes. There
were
were
none.
several that were undecided.
Hmm.
Yeah, you know, there's this overriding concern about us and them. Us
Yes.
versus them. Those who live here and those who don't, those who are here permanently, those who come and go. Yeah, and those who own land but aren't here. And, you know, there's all of that us and them stuff going on. But there's less discussion about the purpose for which the organization exists, and that is to provide advice. And it is up to it's incumbent upon the organization to provide advice in terms of an affirmative and a negative, or a positive and a negative, or a pro and a negative, or whatever, but to give a complete and full and honest picture of how people feel about issues that we're moving forward to the county commissioners. That's the argument that we have to have in the open discussion, and that's the one that I'm expecting to arise.
Yeah, and I don't
Yeah,
know if it's too late to like consider this, but something to throw out there for your to put in your thought is potentially having that item voted separately on than the rest of the document, so that we don't, the whole document is not put at risk by that one item.
Well, again,
we
the way the
ex-
process works is that people can make an amendment to any of the portions of the document, and the vote will happen, and then anything that gets changed will go to county council and be looked at again. But once we have the vote of the entire document on May 11th, however it comes out, whether there are amendments or not, that document is there. It goes back to county council if there have been any changes. County says yes or no on some piece of it. That's all we have to vote on in the future. It's not going to be a whole slew vote of the entire bylaws again. It'll be one little piece. So I think there's a reasonable chance that at the June membership meeting, we will have a vote on bylaws again, but on one or two small pieces of them. So yes, people can certainly take out Article 3 again, but I think we've got some degree of, you know, we will be presenting, and I think it's going to get through. There will be some discussion, obviously, but I'm really hoping, and I think Michael has touched on this somewhat, that in some ways this process is going to bring the membership back together again after being kind of torn asunder, and that combined with the excellent work the officers have done this year of being transparent and allowing them more member input and that kind of thing. I'm hoping some of these wounds are going to be healed. I may be a little optimistic there, but you know, and that combined with the community plans work, you know, will further heal. So maybe
Yeah,
I've got
we're getting there.
rose-colored glasses on,
Yeah.
but
I'm hoping that there's an opportunity between now and then for the executive committee to do a what if discussion on how this might unfold at the June meeting, or at any particular meeting. What happens if such and such occurs? What happens if these people step up? What happens if this argument occurs, and so on and so forth? So that, you know, we have an anticipation and a dialogue on issues that we can expect reasonably and prepare to discuss them.
All right, well, I personally am ready to go have dinner.
Oh, geez, I've been eating dinner. It's right here. In fact, it's gone.
Well, I ate dinner at 6 o'clock, but I think I'm ready for supper now.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
I have.
yeah,
I think I'm ready for
Second
a
dinner.
glass of wine or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Thanks.
well, thank
Well-
you for listening and for your input
Absolutely.
and everything. And obviously feel free to contact us. I have just really valued the input that we've gotten from all the community members, you know, and that people are taking the time to communicate with us what their thoughts are. It's made a better, more robust set of bylaws, I think, and hopefully people will understand it.
I think we have erred on two parts. We have erred on the process of asking Nancy to chair, which is an excellent choice on our part. She's done a very good job. And secondly, that we have erred on the side of listening and listening and listening. There's been many opportunities for people who have wanted to speak to actually say what's on their mind. And it's been consistent and it's been repetitive, believe me, but it's worthy. And I think that that all of that will result in a development of community. Communication develops community, and that's what's going on here in the macro level.
All right.
Agreed. Well said. Tom, you've got your hand up.
No, as in goodbye.
Ah,
Goodbye, Tom.
all right. Well, I don't think we need do we need a motion to end?
No,
or-
you can just
Okay.
adjourn.
Do
We're
it.
just
Go
gonna
for
adjourn
it.
at
Go for it.
9:13 p.m.
9:13. Okay, wow, this file is going to be huge.
And for those of you in Nescoin now, there's some interesting lightning and thunder going on outside.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Wow.
we had a pile of it in Corvallis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It hasn't made it over here yet.
Nancy, May 21 works well.
May 21 works well. What's May
Very, very-
21?
Very, very well. You'll find out why. Yeah, you'll know.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Oh, got it. Okay, good, good. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.